The following is a pre-recorded show. Welcome to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner professional and founder of Akers Financial Group. Now, helping you win in your retirement, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers. Here with me today is certified financial planner practitioner, Alex Monk. We've been working together for 10 years now. Alex has developed into one of the leading experts in retirement planning, and I enjoy working with him. Good morning, Mr. Alex Monk.
Brian, you knew me when I had hair, and you know me without it.
I remember the day when you shaved it off, but that was one of those things where you weren't going to make any more guesses on your future hairline. And that actually parlays right into our show today. The show is called Knowing versus Guessing in Retirement. When you know, it's a whole lot better than trying to guess at it. So what we want to do is this. We want to explain to you what work we've done and put together for today. Knowing versus guessing in retirement requires that you get serious about your finances. We do have a great show today. We'll break it into 4 quarters, just like any football or basketball game. We have a different topic for each quarter that applies to the whole show, to the whole topic, to the whole theme. We have put together a show you need to listen to and even re-listen to in the future. If you get serious about your finances, you can achieve your goals and dreams. That's what we all want. And what we need to do is this. We need to know that knowing is a pretty good strategy. Knowing you don't have to guess is even better.
Yeah, so imagine that Brian's been driving to the office for 30 years, and every day he's retiring for somebody. It's not like your first day of middle school or high school where you're, oh, did I get on the right bus? Is this the right bus? Am I in the right class? No. We know. There's no more guessing.
Yeah, you have to have a process to it. You have to have a way of knowing and be able to look someone in the eye and say, yes, you're good. Things look really good based on everything you presented, we put together over a multiple of meetings. So financial planning leads to a great decision on retirement that can be for a lifetime. We don't want to retire and then have to guess that we might not make it, and then we have to go back to work.
No, and your wife's not going to like that.
And a lot of times when you retire, you leave the highest paying job you've ever had. And then when you retire and try to go back, you can't get that job back. You got to start pretty low somewhere else. It's not the same.
No, that's never fun. And, you know, I've seen people right on the cusp and they're like, Alex, should I retire early or can I? And I say, well, okay, well, here's what we're going to talk about, right? You can work 6 years at the Walmart or you can work 2 years here at your last job. You make the decision.
Absolutely. All right. So today's show, this first quarter, what we're going to try to do is talk about things you need to know about to just begin. So what should you know? Now, most people have a job, right, Alex? So what's important about your job?
You're going to hopefully have some benefits going on there. And that's correlated to your compensation, right? So if you're working, you're getting paid. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you're saving. So let's just say, generically, people are going to have some type of maybe a 401k, 403b, something like that, a savings plan.
Absolutely. And so understanding what kind of plan you have and then doing the paperwork to get started is extremely important on knowing when it comes to retirement planning, because only you can save for your own retirement. We cannot trust that the company is just going to give us a pension that's going to be enough. Most government pension plans that are still out there do not give people anywhere near what they used to give when it comes to their retirement planning. They have downgraded those plans and split them into 2 different plans. A contribution plan where we put money away, and also a defined benefit where some money comes out of your pay and that pays for what used to be a bigger pension. Now it's a lot less.
Do you know why they did that?
Money, money, money.
Exactly.
And any other reason?
I don't see another reason, but it's expensive to pay people forever.
So the show's called Winning in Retirement. And this is not just for those in retirement. It's for, you got to know how to win the game. We don't want to be playing the game of retirement and go, okay, what do I need to do now? What we need to do is say, well, how can I lead my entire financial life in a way that I'm going to win in retirement because I choose to be financially independent? We want to be knowing versus guessing. Now, at work, how much should you put into your 401k, 403b, TSP, whatever the company calls it? And should you do Roth or pre-tax? These are all decisions that are made as you begin. You also need to elect your investments, and you got to work on that. So throughout the show, we're going to cover this kind of topics. Also, when you understand your benefits, you need to understand benefits that are for you and benefits that are for your family. Benefits for you are short-term and long-term disability. When you enter a new job, when you check those boxes, you are covered for short-term and long-term disability. You're covered for life insurance without showing insurability. Once you're there in the job, you can no longer go back to them and say, hey, up my coverage, I'm not feeling too well. And they won't let you do that.
I mean, they will during open enrollment.
Not for life insurance. They do for health insurance, but life insurance, you got to get it on the entry of the new job. And that's where you can bump up 2, 3, 4 times salary and really get insurance that you might not be able to get anywhere else. So you got to know all about your benefits as you begin any and every job. Now, is there any other important things people need to do, Alex?
I mean, there's so many different things. It's know your numbers is the biggest thing for me, Brian. It's taking what you have at work and making it fit for you, right? Because not everybody that's born your year is going to retire the same year. So in your talk, you said investment election. That's a big deal. And a lot of people have no idea where the money is. Absolutely not.
Especially a younger person when they start. Somebody shows a piece of paper, they sign it, they check a box, they go into a moderate portfolio or sometimes cash. And then we see it maybe 10 years later after they've worked there. They're in their 30s. They're having their first kid. And they come in and talk to a financial planner.
And, that could just be the emotion they were feeling on that day. Or, oh, I'm overwhelmed at work right now. It's my first day. I don't know what to pick. So I'm just going to go with cash and then I'll get to it later. Later's 13, 14 years down the road. And you've missed out on a doubler.
When you think about the math of retirement, if people in their 20s, if you maximum save as much as you possibly can in your 20s and put it in the stock market and diversify small, medium, large, you might not have to save ever again. Because when you start in your 20s and then give it time to grow at that rate, you might be able to hit your retirement numbers just because you started out well early.
Right.
Knowing that you started out well early makes life a lot easier because you have that backup, you have that saving, and you became a saver. Becoming a saver initially out of the gate or transitioning to become a saver is one of the most important things you can do when it comes to knowing your financial future.
And there's some value associated with that financial independence that I just can't put a number on. The weight that it lifts off people's shoulders when they know they're good, you can see it. I've seen people get 3-4 inches taller. I mean, just on that pressure coming off their back because they know they're okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about, when you were saying that, I was thinking some people, they wonder why we say pay off your mortgage. Well, when that pressure is off your back, there's a freedom that comes to having that debt gone that you just feel like you're going to retire because what else do I need money for? Just for fun, right?
Right. I mean, that's an extra, $2-3 a month that you're spending at Starbucks or whoever's open to take your money.
Yeah. So our general advice in retirement is the reason to have a mortgage paid off is because you got to replace that mortgage payment with our health insurance costs. It's not going to change. It's going to get worse over the next 30 years, that the health insurance per portion of our retirement spending is going to get higher and higher. And so we must be prepared for that and not have debt that requires our money.
And people are like, well, I don't need to worry about that. I got Medicare and all that. Well, let's go over those numbers, right? So your Part B is a couple $100, your supplement, and then your copays, you're at $1,000 right there. I mean, that's a big number. If there's 2 people, there's $2,000. That's your mortgage payment.
We have, like recently, they raised Medicare up 14%. And we believe that Medicare is going to keep rising over the years. As they raise Social Security, they can raise Medicare. And in 2022, it's 170, which is a number just for basic without, if you don't make too much money. There is limits on income where you actually you can pay more because it is means-based. So knowing all these kind of things can help you be prepared for retirement and be okay. So far what we've been talking about is this. If you know that if you start early, you'll be able to retire early, would you do it? Or would you take the opposite approach? Let's take the guesser, someone that says, yeah, I think I'm doing all right. Or I guess I can retire. And then they just go into the retirement office and go, I'm going to go ahead and try it. I just don't want to work anymore. Does that sound like a good scenario?
I mean, that's not something I would do, but, I plan for a profession. I absolutely love knowing what comes next.
Well, you think about it. If someone's guessing at retirement, they go, we'll figure it out. It should be enough. I don't like those kind of words because I want to know that we have enough. I want to know that we have a plan that's going to last a lifetime. And that means sitting down with the planner and knowing where money's going and where your money is and how it's allocated. We need to take crazy assumptions off the table. What kind of crazy assumptions have you seen in people's plannings on the first meeting?
I mean, I'll say, okay, so you tell me that you're good. Can you show me how, right?
Yeah.
And we'll go in and they'll say, well, I have this little calculator that comes with my 401k, and it says 98%. So then okay, well, 90% of what? So we get in there, we start looking around. Well, they're running increases on Social Security at 4%. I don't think that's likely. I think, like you just said, Brian, that Medicare increase is going to net out against that. So your real rate of return there, we'll call it 0. And then they're also using, wait for it, the last 10 years as market returns.
And that's going to be a consistent rate of return for them.
That is a consistent annual rate of return. So if you can do 10 a year, every year, you're okay. Trust me.
I think almost everybody's okay at 10% every year with no downs.
But how do you do that?
I don't think it's possible.
I agree.
I mean, what you can see by the past over the last more than 100 years in the stock market, you can see that it will not keep growing at 10% rate. It will pull back. When you see PE ratios, price to earning ratios at high levels, what happens is there's pullbacks that occur after that. And that's what you got to be ready for. So when we're trying to talk about your retirement, let's say we're talking about your retirement in the near future. Do you know, are you on track? That's really this whole concept of knowing versus guessing. Do you know that you're on track? It's a lot better place to be when you're 10 years from retirement than, oh yeah, I think I'm heading the right way. And then maybe the last year you check into it.
Well, and then that's the problem, because if you wait till the last year, like you said earlier, Brian, it takes time. So that guy that starts girls that starts when they're 20, 25, they have more time and lets that money work for them instead of scrambling those last couple of years trying to find every dollar that they can to save. Like, that sounds like a manic, not fun last year work.
Some people have had to do it where you give them all these goals they have to accomplish, and they have to do nothing and just plow money against credit card debts and get rid of things and line themselves up, get onto a budget that they've never been on in their life. They're trying to go from debtor to saver in 1 year, which I think is near impossible.
I met a guy actually from the radio show about 2-3 years ago, and I was like, Bill, let's get rid of the debt. And then about a week ago, he goes, yep, it's almost all gone.
It's a wonderful thing. And knowing versus guessing is a key thing about your retirement. Because in retirement, we want our biggest worry to be, where are we going to drink our morning cup of coffee? Where every day seems like a Saturday. Your retirement income and investments are taken care of by Acres Financial Group and our team of advisors. If you'd like to set up a free initial consultation where you can sit down with one of our team of advisors, give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and we'll get back to you on Monday to set up an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for retirement now by calling 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. Do you know where your money is? Or did you just check a box? Check us out in the second quarter to find out more.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, and here with me today is Alex Monk. We're both certified financial planners and practitioners at Acres Financial Group. And we put together a show for you called Knowing versus Guessing in Retirement. Our first topic was just the concept of knowing your numbers versus not knowing your numbers. The idea and almost the craziness of just trying to guess at it, which a lot of people in America do. They don't take retirement seriously until they get really close to that age, and they think, oh, well, Social Security and I got a little bit of state, I'll be all right. And they don't realize what they've designed is a plan for a disaster. So, Alex, what we did is this. In the first quarter, we had a great talk, and then I asked a question to everyone. Do you know where your money is, or did you just check a box? And what I want to do here in the second quarter is explain what I mean by did you just check a box?
So checking a box is kind of the way that it's done, right? They give you this form when you start your job, and it says, do you want to start saving to the 401k, the TSP, whatever it may be. And one of your boxes says, I'll pick the funds, and you may not be an expert investment advisor. So there's another one that says, we'll do it for you. Well, that sounds great. So we check that box. Now we're 25 years down the road. What does that mean? What do you see it mean, Brian?
When they check a box, when they check a box when you start out, typically you're checking a box as a moderate, aggressive, or moderate, or even conservative investor. And then the computer generates what a model should look like. And the thing is that even in the most aggressive models, they have a portion of low risk. And we've actually seen that where in 401ks especially, that the only low risk they really have is called a stable value fund, a money market. And even the most aggressive portfolios will have a portion in the money market earning 0 to 1% as an allocation for someone like in their 20s when it comes to retirement and they're just getting started.
And that allocation is not one that they would call fresh powder. It's just there.
Yeah, it's just there, and then later on allocates, and they add more to it every year as you get older, and it sort of works its way to it's more conservative. And I think it's a good idea in the last 10 years to start dialing things back, but I think you got to dial it up when it starts out. You sort of want the weirdest things. What you want is this. You want to have money in the future, but you want the market to go up now. That means you're buying at the highs. If the market would go down, that would be a great time to buy because you want to buy lower. We want the dollar cost average. That's one of the biggest things you got to understand over the next few years is if you're consistently investing through the up and the down of the volatility, you're buying more and more shares when the market goes down. And then when the things turn back around, as there's another bull market in the future, you'll see your money multiply up and do extremely well. And that's when you reallocate. That's when you introduce some lower risk things. A startup, people, what we recommend is this. Maximize your match, fund the Roth IRA for yourself, and then go back to your company and finish the entire contribution limit if you can. If you have the ability to save more than that, then you look at other opportunities to save for your retirement, from personal savings to cash value life insurance, other ways of building for your future. You need to know where your money's invested, how it's invested, and how it's working for you right now. You should not wait to a certain age or to a certain amount before you find out that things are okay with the way you're doing it. Don't be guessing at what's going on.
You know, one of the favorite things that you always say, Brian, is when should I make allocation changes if my allocation is wrong? And you've always said, as soon as you know it's wrong.
Yep, right that second.
And that's such an important thing because just like you referenced before, we want to buy low and sell high. But the human mind, all that emotion gets in there. You see the market going down. It's like, well, I don't want to save anymore. It's going to go down forever. And then you see the market go up and it's like, oh, I want to save more. It's going to go up forever. And neither of those things are true. But, in our brain, it's like, oh, look at it go.
Yeah, I like to call that fear, hope, and greed. And what happens is when the market's really high up, we think it's going to go up forever. And so let's put some more money on. And that's really that greed factor where you're buying the highs. And as the market starts to turn down, you get this little bit of hope saying, oh, it's going to turn right back around. It'll be all right. And then the sad part is when it gets a little beyond your comfort level on the downside, you get fearful. And the first thing you do out of fear is you want to sell and get out. So you want to buy at the high and sell at the low when the emotions are attached to it. The fear, hope, and greed is causing people to do the wrong things at the wrong times. So what happens is this. When the market's at an all-time high or moving like that and you think there's possibility of going down or up, what you got to do is diversify and take some winnings off the table, make sure you're ready for retirement, especially the 10 years prior to retirement or in retirement. You got to make sure you're preserving some of the gains and reallocating when it's best.
And once you are that age, the opportunities kind of open up, right? So when you're young, you're very limited to what you can invest in as far as your 401k. But when you hit 59 and a half, a lot of these places say, okay, you're getting close to retirement. If you need to do other things that our plan doesn't offer with some of this money, you're free to do so. And that's an important thing because if stable value, like you said earlier, is the only option, that's not going to work.
Yeah, because the reality is most people under 40 need to have 2 to 4 million in retirement funds to retire or more because there's not going to be a pension for them. And they're going to have to try to balance their money now for the money in the future. And it has to grow at a stock level over time. And if it can earn 8 to 12% over a lifetime, the money you save can actually get to that level of 2 to 4 million in time. We've seen many 401ks at that level, but those clients were committed to growth and keep it in the market and buying the dips and keep buying. And that's why when they get to retirement, they have money saved that is enough.
Yeah. And then you can take some of that risk off because you took that risk earlier or the time or the patience to save. And that's a big deal. Like you said earlier, once you can have somebody switch from a spender to a saver, that's a huge win.
Yeah. A lot of people are guessing how much to save. They guess where to put their portfolio. They listen at the coffee maker in the morning, at the water fountain, if there's still one allowed to be used. They talk about markets, and people guess, and they sort of say, okay, I'll buy this one or that one, or I heard this one was good. And they're not really building or knowing what they're buying. Knowing how you invest your money, what you're buying, is very, very important.
And you got to think, okay, how did this guy hear about it? Well, they probably heard about it on an advertisement. Why were they advertising? Where'd that money come from? So there's all these questions that we ask each other every day about all types of different funds, and we see what's worked. We pull on past knowledge, past experience, and then we can give people all the scenarios based on what their decisions are and say, what do you want?
Yeah, one of these things, knowing versus guessing. Knowing seems to me is the only way of doing it. But I have to think about the people that come to see us, especially the first time. Many of them have sort of been guessing and collecting and buying things as they can and piling up like what they call their portfolio. And then we have them come in and they bring statements, but they don't really know what they have. They just have more of a collection. What's your general approach to that?
Well, I say, okay, well, just tell me about what's going on here.
Right.
And they'll say, typically, I haven't been there for about 10 years. I have no clue. This one's done pretty well, though. I have no clue. And then this is my new one, and it's growing the fastest. And I always am like, well, do you think it's growing faster because you're adding to it?
Yeah.
And typically it's like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, very true. Because they read their statements, and their stability is tied to their statement they see.
Right.
And a lot of people have never seen it all together, and they also don't have the purpose or the goals for each investment. So like, well, what's this investment for? What do you want to use that investment for? And they won't know the answer to that.
And I really enjoy that first meeting or two where I get to hear these people's story, right? So, and you kind of find out what makes them tick, right? And that's what are your worries? What are your concerns? And then we can start finding ways to give some of these things that they've collected purpose and meaningful purpose,
Right.
And accomplish some of these goals they have or address some of their fears.
Yeah, some people with their fears, the first thing they'll do is they'll want to move all of their money to cash and get out of the market 100% instead of just trying to balance it into retirement. What's your approach to that?
I don't like anything all in, all out.
Right.
That's just I can't be okay with either one because there's pluses and minuses to both, but we don't know what's going to happen, right? So that's the one thing that is a fact about retirement is the uncertainty.
It's like people put their head down and they look in the short term and they get most of their security and they're sort of guessing at they're okay. They're not looking at the long-term approach. We believe you got to look long-term and understand that inflation's coming, inflation's going to be here and stay with us for a while. That inflation is one of the biggest factors of retirement to try to win in retirement. We have to have money that keeps up with inflation, which means that we're going to have stocks for the next decade plus into those retirement years to keep up with inflation. You just can't park your money in a savings account, expect to retire, and live off of that.
No, absolutely not. And a lot of people, they always say, Alex, what's the market going to do? And I say, well, it could do this or it could do that. But what we need to ask ourselves is the market going to be higher or lower in 10 years? My answer is higher. So if that's the answer, then this needs to be our long-term money. Because we're not playing for today. We're playing for the long game, right? Look at Tom Brady. He's like 90 years old and still winning.
Yeah, well, he tries to play the long game, but he tries to win every battle, and that gets you there. Some of the things that happen in financial planning that you need to know is this. You need to know it. That doesn't mean you have to be an expert in it. We think the key to knowing is having a coach, having a financial advisor that's alongside of you, helping you make decisions so that you're not doing the guessing. You're knowing instead of guessing. That's a key factor when it comes to your investment portfolio.
Yeah, and you want to have a second opinion. Let's just say your leg falls off, right? You're going to go see at least one doctor, I hope. At least one. That's the same thing if we're talking about the next 30 years of your life. Like retirement's a big deal. You don't want to have to go back and get a new leg.
I really don't know have a good response for that. But if your leg falls off, I agree. Get a second opinion and figure out what happened there. But I'm sorry, I don't know what to do after that one. All right, so let's just go back to the focus of knowing versus guessing. And if your leg does fall off, you do need a second opinion. Second opinion in finance is where someone outside of where you have your current money looks at where you are, and you know that they're trying to look at overall that you're doing okay. Now, at Acres Financial Group, we're a local independent company. We're not a company that's owned by a big company on Wall Street. We report to our clients. And so when we talk about the word fiduciary, we talk about the idea of understanding and doing your planning. We want to do a plan for you right where you are. And so what we tell people is this: if you like to sit down, have a free time to get together and talk about your situation with one of our team of advisors, just give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and on Monday, we'll give you a call to set up an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors to go over your exact situation so that you can know what your retirement is going to be all about. So go ahead and give us a call at 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. Do you know your tax bracket? We'll talk about this in the second half.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Our announcer just welcomed you back, and we're going to welcome you back also. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, and here with me today is Alex Monk. We're both certified financial planner practitioners from Acres Financial Group. What that means is that we are financial advisors here to advise on your retirement. Our show, of course, is designed with general information, and then we offer time to sit down and talk with us about your exact situation so we give the advice that you need. Now, this show, Winning in Retirement, it's a great thing to be winning in retirement. It's something when you're in retirement years and you know you're winning, it's a great feeling to know that your finances are taken care of and things are good. So what we're going to do here in the second quarter is bring up another topic, which won't be quite as fun, but our show is called Knowing versus Guessing in Retirement. And here in the second half, we're going to start off with a very important topic, and that's this, is do you know your tax bracket? Now, why is this so important, Alex?
Well, there's a big deal. A lot of people out there don't realize that they have such a large partner in retirement, and that partner would be the government. And right now, in the current tax law, there's different income levels where taxes jump significantly. So one case in point, Brian, is the 12% bracket then becomes the 22% bracket.
Yeah, that's a 10% cliff.
Yeah, but it's almost a 50% jump.
Yep.
If you lost 50% of your weight overnight, people would know. That's an issue. Same thing going up, right? So we want to watch out for that. That is a big deal. And a lot of other things change there. So capital gains taxation changes. There's a bunch of different stuff that changes once you jump out of that 12 bracket. And it is a huge change.
Right. And so when we manage investments, manage income, manage your IRA withdrawals after you retire and trying to work out a retirement income plan, you need to know the bracket that you're in now and you're in the bracket you're going to know that you're going to be in retirement. Then there's the idea of bracket in your 60s and bracket in your 70s. So what we're going to try to do here this quarter is try to explain each of those little pieces and why it's so important. Understanding your bracket you're in now, why is that so important?
So that can bring up a lot of different things because there's things that you can do now that have impacts later, meaning let's take the big one. For example, traditional versus Roth,
right?
Like the age-long battle. Well, if you're in the 26, 29, 30% bracket and you're, let's say, 5-6 years away from retirement, pre-tax is probably the best answer for you. Right. You don't have the time.
Yeah, so 32% bracket and above pre-tax seems to make sense unless one thing is a constant, and that is when you retire, you're going to be at the same bracket. Because if the premise is you're going to work and retire at the same bracket, the same money level, you need to look at it and say, well, what's the advantage of tax deferral into the same bracket of the future? Now, that's a big assumption that brackets will stay the same, and I'd like to say that that's probably wrong. That most likely your brackets will go up in retirement. And that's when you have this argument of traditional versus Roth at the 401k level, TSP level, or the Roth IRA versus IRA getting a deduction now rather than in the future. It's sort of an argument from a financial advisor versus CPA concept, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And your CPA, they're going to do their job, right? And that's to focus on this year paying the least amount of taxes. Mm-hmm. And if that's their goal, that's fine. But my goal is to pay the least amount of taxes in your lifetime.
The lifetime approach, and knowing that you're not going to share as much money with the federal government because you're going to keep it. That's what we want you to think about. Knowing your bracket today can help decide on, should I pre-tax or should I Roth this year? Well, tell me what's going on.
I like that. Should I pre-tax or should I Roth? That's a good way to say it.
And I had people making an extremely high level of income doing Roths because they can't do a Roth. They make more than the limit. A married filing jointly is a little over 200, 204, where if you make more than that, you can't even do a Roth IRA.
And let's look at the worst case scenario. Let's say that in the future, taxes just go away, which I don't ever see. So let's say they stay the same. The worst case scenario on Roth now is you prepaid your taxes. Yep. And we never want to do all Roth. We like to have the different buckets. It gives you options to pull from.
I would say younger people should consider possibly doing all Roth because any match, any employer money is going to be pre-taxed. So you're never going to get that all Roth concept in your plan, even though if you think you are. Your money can be all Roth, but not all of it. Imagine that an employer puts in, they do a deduction. They take it off their income. That's why they do it. And so that money will be taxable when you receive retirement, and you can't do anything about that. So when you think about doing a Roth 401k, we think you should do it. That will hurt your bottom line paycheck because it's not pre-tax. It's not saving you any money on taxes at today's level. You're paying the tax.
Yep. But you're paying your future debt. Mm-hmm. It's like paying your mortgage. You don't have to pay it in the future. So that Roth money is going to be a huge portion, especially for the younger generations.
You pay tax now and never again. I like Roth when you give it a lot of time to grow, but the most important thing is the tax bracket. The assumption is that at a lower job when you first start, you're making the lowest income of your life, most likely. You might as well do Roth. I mean, I don't have a certain age when you shouldn't, but I think you're less than 45 years old. You got to look at a Roth first. As you're hitting your 50s, it depends on what tax bracket you're in. Do you know your tax bracket? Are you 12? Are you 20, 22, 24, 32, or even higher? Where are you at?
And the thing is, like a lot of people come in and they're retired and they say, Alex, I want to pay less taxes. How do I do it overall? I'm going to have to start withdrawing my money in 5 years?
Yep.
Say, yeah, you sure have to.
Now, we both have clients that are small business owners, and they write off everything trying to show like no income. And then they pay no tax, they pay no Social Security tax. What's the ramification of that kind of short-term thinking?
It can be, let's say it's the long-term retirement thinking is you don't have earnings record for Social Security. Yep. The other bad side is if you want to qualify for a large mortgage or a large debt or something like that, you got nothing.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword, right? Do I want to give away 25, 30% of my income to do it the right way, right, or some variant of the two?
I consider it almost like a seesaw where if you defer and write off everything now and get a zero tax rate for a little while, what's going to happen is later on, you're not going to have any deductions to take against it, and your income's going to be soaring into higher and higher levels. Now, small business, when you enter into that 32% bracket, you also start to lose the qualified business credit that's there. That's a very important piece. Keeping your income below that 326 level is very important. There's a lot of things about the tax law that you need to know and how it affects you based on how you earn your living.
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad you brought up business owners because that brings up so many more areas to plan. Mm-hmm. You just have endless opportunities because you can structure things to fit you, your company, your business, however big, however small. It can be driven by what fits you the best. And that's just such a powerful place to be as a business owner.
Yeah, my feeling is that we as business owners have to lead your employees in the right decision making for retirement, and you got to take care of your family also, both. And so in plan design, you actually can dictate how much you match, how you're helping your employees grow for retirement. I think it's important to have a very good match, a very good amount of money going towards their long-term future so they can retire someday. Because there's no pensions out there. You got to save and grow this money over time. And
if you know your employees or you know yourself, even it just depends. You can put different provisions on that plan where people could get it out the next day. People can't get it out at all. So there's different things that you can do to protect not only yourself, your future, but also your employees.
Right. So do you know your tax bracket? This matters a lot when you're making your retirement saving decision, especially if you're going to stay at that same level in retirement years. If you know you're going to drop way down, then you might want to pre-tax because in the short run, it'll be better. The idea of Roth conversions and how to do them, typically we love Roth conversions in low income years. And some of those low income years are the year after you retire.
Now, I personally feel like we're in a tax holiday, Brian. Would you agree?
Holiday mean like totally zero?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I'd call it more of a, it's still there. You still got to go to work. It's not a totally day off.
It's a half day, or it's a 3/4 day, maybe.
No problem. Sorry.
So right now, taxes, we know where they're at, right? They're at a good place. We know they're going up in 2026.
Yep.
At the worst case scenario. And we don't know what their inflation adjusted numbers will be, but if the previous decisions of the IRS are any indication, they're going to be way off. So we know taxes are going up. Mm-hmm. Pay the taxes now. That sounds like a good deal.
Well, it's like Alex was saying earlier about the bill, the IRS bill, the tax bill on your retirement money. If you can pay it at a lower level, you've saved yourself a lot of money. This bracket between 12 and 22 is one of the brackets for most people to look at. And the other one is the 24 to 32 bracket that you really need to know where those limits are, because the dollar over the 24% bracket, over the 12, gets taxed at that next bracket. And if you have extra money or work part-time and make a little bit more money, and that's at another 10% higher, some people might not want to take that extra job because of the way it's worked out.
It's like you can work and make an extra $1,000, but you only get half of it. It's like, well...
Yeah, I mean, if you're at 32% bracket and 7.5%, 8% Maryland, you're at 40%. Not counting Social Security, that's where you get to that half number you just mentioned.
It's a tough numbers, and especially if you're not withheld. Like the first year that people usually do it, it's like, well, I had this part-time job, and they withheld like you made no money, and it turns out it pushes you way over this bracket, and it gets messy.
So in retirement planning, knowing your tax situation helps you make wise decisions in the long term on what is best for your finances. If you pre-tax things, someone's going to pay the tax down the road. You're going to pay it, your spouse will pay it, or your family's going to pay it. One of the worst case scenarios is you save your whole life and married filing jointly. One of you passes away, and then the surviving widow or widower is now have to file a single rate. Then at the same level of income, they're at a double the tax rate just because the other spouse is no longer alive. So in planning where one spouse might not be there, doing the Roth is a big advantage for the survivor.
Absolutely. And we want our surviving spouses to have the same, standard of living. We just don't want the government to take it all.
If you look at the biggest expenses in retirement, it's taxes and insurance, and then we get the rest to live off on. We got to limit those numbers. Because we want the best part of your retirement is when you get your time back. This is where you decide how to use it. Before retirement, your time is tied up with commitments, mainly your job. A lot of that goes away in retirement, where you then get to pick and choose how you spend your time. It's not consumed by someone else telling you what to do. Now, in retirement, maybe it's grandkids telling you what to do, which many people say that's a great thing. And I look forward to it someday. Now, to win in retirement, we think the answer is this, is give us a call at Acres Financial Group. Meet with one of our team of advisors. Go ahead and give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and we'll give you a call back on Monday to set up an in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. So give us a call at 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. All right, in the fourth quarter, this will be the question. You can save more money than you think you can. And we'll talk about that when we come back.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm your host, Brian Akers. I'm actually president, and I got the privilege of founding Acres Financial Group almost 16 years ago. Acres Financial Group was founded to provide financial planning advice to help people throughout their life, but especially in their retirement years. We've also put together this radio show, Winning in Retirement, because we want our clients to win in their retirement years by having a financial life that is building and growing and getting us ready for those years when we need to stop working and be ready for the good days and the bad days. The show today is called Knowing versus Guessing in Retirement. We do need to make sure we know what's going on, what the plan is, and we know that we're going to be taken care of and things are okay. So today's show, like every other show we've had, has been recorded. And that's recorded and put on our website at acresfinancialgroup.com. You go to that website, you can check our radio tab, you can hear our past shows, a whole list of them right there. You can go back and listen through the podcast right there. You can also go to our webinars and listen and watch some of the videos we put together on certain topics. So go to acresfinancialgroup.com and check us out. All right, Alex Monk, you've been working hard the first 3 quarters, but the fourth quarter, you put 4 up in the air. It's winning time. This is where you got to bring it all together. And I think one of the biggest topics we can do when talking about knowing versus guessing is the simple question is, can you save more money?
Oh, gosh, that's a tough one. Do I want to? Oh, it's tough. I like spending the money, but Brian, you're absolutely right. Once you meet with somebody and you get to know them and they say, oh, well, yeah, I could do another 100 a week or another $200 a week.
Right.
And then that becomes part of the budget. And then 6 months later, they're like, hey, I got this extra cash sitting in my account. I want to invest it. Yeah. And you just see them beginning to find ways to put money towards their future and not towards their present.
One of the things we try to teach people is that if we save with a purpose and save first and put money away and throw it to things that we have planned, the money will be there when we need it. We'll know that it'll be there. If you spend and try to save whatever's left, you end up saving nothing because almost all of us have the habits of looking at our accounts and seeing our budget based on the balance there, going, hey, I can spend that money. I got some more room. And you can start having a couple of good weekends or whatever you got planned. The idea is this, is we need to save first. Save through your paycheck, save through your checking account. Do both. Throw money to your own future because no one else will. So when I ask that question to clients, I usually say, well, can we save more? And they say, well, maybe. And I say, well, let's try to figure that out. Now, we don't want to take food off the table. We don't want to take clothing off the back of the kids. But can you save more money? And then let's look at what is the best way to save more money. And that's when we look at the criteria of what's going on in their financial life. What kind of things do you look at when you ask them where to, if they can save, and then you got this money, then what kind of things do you look at on where to go?
You know, sometimes the biggest thing is getting a couple on the same page.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like, oh, yeah, well, if we both say, hey, I can come up with an extra $25 a week or $50 a week, between the two of them, that's $100. And then they start saving. So it's either, oh, let's fund our Roth IRAs if we don't have them. Are we maxing out our match at work? Because we don't want to give up free money. That's first and foremost, right? That's kind of a given. We're going to look at that immediately. So then we go look at the Roths. Okay, we're doing okay there. And then a lot of people, once you give them that challenge, it's like, well, you can put up to $6,000. They're like, well, I'm going to hit that.
Yeah, $500 a month.
$500 a month. I'm there. Yeah. And then if they're a little bit older, they got to come up with an extra $1,000.
Yep.
But the perks to having gray hair. So if that's already taken care of, then we go back to work and say, all right, are we maxing out our retirement plan here? Are we doing Roth? Because let's say we're a higher income earner and we can't get into Roth.
Yep. Then
we have other issues, right? So we should start saving personally. And people get hooked on that the same way they do spending.
Right. And if they become a saver, and almost a saver where it rules, where they don't spend anything, they have to find balance later in life when they have to give themselves permission to even use their retirement money.
It's funny that, I mean, how often do we see that? Or it's like, you got to spend it. Your kids are definitely going to spend it.
Well, incredible savers that save so much, they end up having extra, more than required. And then you can have discussions like, what do you want to do with that money? Do you want to go to charity, to kids? Do you want to build a legacy? What kind of planning do you want to accomplish in your own life?
And it's that person's money, and it's up to them to decide what they want to do with it, not us. However you want to spend your money, that's up to you. I'm just going to show you how long it'll last at certain spending levels and how to get it to last that long and grow.
Right.
So that's the spending of it is really, what do you want your life to look like in retirement?
Yeah, so the way I look at budgets, I believe that you should tithe first and then save second. That could be up to 20, 25% of your pay that's taken off the top. Now, that kind of sacrifice for your future is a very important thing because you learn to live off the rest. Living to learn off the rest is a very important thing if you have a job paying well enough to be able to do that. The hard part is this: if you don't build that habit early, it's hard to add it in later, especially if you're spending to the maximum or you build up debt too early on in life. Now, this is at whatever level of income we are. Now, there are things that happen as you make more and more income, as your salary gets to 200, 300 or higher, 1,000 a year. What I mean by that is you maximize at work the limits, and that's not enough to be able to help you retire. You need to save more, save beyond, and you have to know all the plans at your that your company offers, from deferred comp to other ways of saving and growing your money to help you during retirement. There's things called HSAs, health savings account, where we can save money and that money can grow and be there to cover your health care through your retirement years, all tax-free, pre-tax and tax-free on the withdrawal. I love health savings accounts as a way of helping us in retirement.
Right. And you can get, if you're over a certain age, you can get up to $7,000 a year per family in there. That's in addition to retirement accounts, things like that.
Right.
So that money can be there and grow, and doing it over time, year by year, month by month. We don't pick one entry into the market, so we get that dollar cost averaging, but we let our money work for us over time. And that's the biggest deal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what I was saying earlier about if you maximize at work, one example was back in 2021, you could put 26.5 into your 401k. And so someone that makes $400,000, that's only 6.6% of their pay being saved. That's not enough. We generally say at least 10% or higher. If you want to retire early, you got to save more. The thing about investing and saving your money is you want more later, you got to put more in. And you got to take more risk if you want more later. There's a combination. If you want to take less risk, got to put more money in. This combination of knowing what you're doing and how it affects you 6 years from now, 10, 20 years from now, extremely important.
What you said there, Brian, about risk was pretty huge, right? We see a lot of people that come in, I'm a year from retirement, I'm 2 years from retirement. Here's where all my money is. And it comes to light that all their money's in the stock market. Mm-hmm. And that's a scary place to be, because we know for a fact, the one thing we know about the stock market, it's uncertain.
It's uncertain. And there's some fundamental things, I guess, when it comes to retirement that at Acres Financial Group, we just believe it, and not every other advisor agrees with us. And that is this, is we want the protected money, the low risk money, to be actually protected low risk money that won't lose. And that seems to us like obvious. But to many people, they believe that, you got to be in the market to earn the return. But there's a risk. The risk is losing the actual money you need to live off of, losing the principal. And if you do scenarios of how to retire and you say, I'm going to retire at a market peak, and then over the next first 15 years of retirement, it's going to be volatile and sideways, and I'm going to withdraw with very little growth, will it work? In most cases, the answer is probably not.
Very, very seldomly does it work, especially the earlier on and the bigger the withdrawals.
Yep. Like there's some articles out there that 4% doesn't work anymore. They're trying to explain you need to be at 3% level. I disagree with that. But I know above 4% doesn't work. I know if you're at a 7-8% because your yield off of the investment you're in is so high that it's being treacherous. It's dangerous because that money will run out someday.
Yeah, and not everyone saw it, but he threw up some bunny ears there around that yield, because yield is a reflection of the risk that you're taking.
Yeah, anything above the treasury is taking risk.
You're taking risk, principal risk. Like that's your money. You may not have it. And if you need it every month, and it's just one of those months that are down, or one of those years, or a 3-year bear market, which is not unheard of, how do you compete with that? And if you do not have places to pull from that are risk-free, you're going to lock in a loss. There's just no way around it.
And you need to know that, and that could be a future that you don't want to live through. You don't want to go down and lose half your money the first couple of years of retirement. You want to have a balance where you have a lower risk level, a lower downside. So you got to diversify in a way to protect yourself from that. Knowing versus guessing with your retirement is extremely important. As you build your net worth, do you really want to keep guessing at it? Or just saying, I think it's okay, or I'll be all right, I think. The answer is, do you know? Or are you guessing? What is the reality when it comes to your financial plan? What's going on for you? Are you guessing, or do you know?
Right. If you've spent all this time, let's call your retirement a Porsche. Are you going to still work on it in the garage by yourself without getting any expertise? if that's not what you do for a living?
I know so little about cars. I don't know how to respond, but my belief is that there's a Porsche expert, and I would go to the Porsche expert and find out how to make it run at the peak.
Right. And that way you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And not worry about it. And that's what we're trying to do.
And that's why I don't usually buy the cheapest type things. I usually buy something of higher quality because I know it's going to last. It's going to provide what it promises. Sometimes when you get the cheapest, it doesn't even provide what it promises.
Right. Or it's like, oh, this wasn't worth anything.
Yeah, I got it real cheap, though. But that's about the price it's worth. Oh, man. All right. So this show is called Knowing versus Guessing in Retirement. We want you to know what's going on before you retire so that you know that you can retire and that you stay retired. Financial planning isn't just a one event where you go and get a financial plan done and you're good. Financial planning is where you check out where you are. We call that your financial fingerprint. And then we walk you through a process of implementing a plan and then a constant review process throughout your lifetime with the financial advisors here at Acres Financial Group to talk about your situation on an ongoing basis through the good days and the bad days. Thank you very much for a good show, Alex.
It's great. Always good to be with you.
Yeah, good morning. It was an excellent job. Thank you guys for listening. Now, if you missed any of it, go to our website at acresfinancialgroup.com and check us out. Find out our old shows. You can even listen to this show next week where you can listen to it and hear the ideas, and maybe you can rehear some things that really help you get to where you need to be. We want you to win in retirement. So take advantage of the opportunity to begin planning with us at Acres Financial Group. Schedule your free meeting by giving us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. When you call, leave us a voice message, and one of our team of advisors will give you a call to set up a phone meeting, a virtual Zoom, or an in-person meeting with one of those team of advisors. We have a bunch of CFPs working here at Acres Financial Group, and we look forward to starting the planning for your retirement now. So give us a call at 833-946-7384 or visit acresfinancialgroup.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we want you to be winning in retirement.
You've been listening to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group. Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group is a registered representative offering securities through Kalos Capital Incorporated and investment advisory services through Kalos Management Incorporated. Akers Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Kalos Capital or Kalos Management and does not provide tax and legal services. Advice given on winning in retirement is general in nature, and one should seek further advice from their financial advisor, broker, attorney, or tax accountant before investing. Be sure to read each prospectus carefully to understand all the risks associated with each investment.